For as long as I've been in the wine trade, winemakers have consistently said it takes a lot of beer to produce amazing wine. And because I don't want them to start slacking anytime soon, I'm going to be sitting down with some of my favorite winemakers and getting them all to take on DasBootiful Cape Winelands Challenge. The challenge itself is all about chugging down a locally produced craft beer while still appreciating the world-class wine. Now let's find out who the quickest winemaker is. Welcome to another episode of DasBootiful Cape Winelands, where today I'm sitting with JP Winshaw from Winshaw Vineyards. JP, thanks a lot for taking the time out today to sit with me.
Pleasure. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, lekker. So JP, let's jump straight into it. Winshaw wines, or Winshaw Vineyards, that's a new thing, right? Wasn't it previously the wines being released as Usana?
Yeah, so for us, what we've been working towards for the last kind of 12 years since Pierre and myself joined or came to the farm was with our vision being to release wine under the Winshaw Vineyards label.
Okay.
And put our family name on the wine. We just wanted to get a few things in place first. And one of them was just sorting out the vineyards. So at first, we released wine under the Usana range, and then just focusing purely on the vineyards and making sure that the quality of the vineyards just kept improving and improving year on year. So that is a very, very big focus for us on the farm, is the vineyard practices and making sure that's in place. And then in 2017, we felt great. We're at the right spot now to do our first harvest of the Winshaw wines. Which we then released at the end of 2021. Okay. So with that, we released our flagship, our premium wines under the Winshaw Vineyards label, and then did a rebrand on the farm as well, to call it Winshaw Vineyards. Usana was always just a brand. Yeah. It was never the name of the farm, but with the clash, we have a clash of names on the farm, so we could actually never use the name of the farm. So it was always thing. But yeah, so we've got the Winshaw range, which is our flagship, and then we still produce the Usana range as well.
For sure. I mean, the surname itself has got a very prestigious ring about it. So, I mean, it makes total sense because the wines that you're producing are absolutely world class.
Yeah, we've been, it's a long history for the Winshaw family in the wine industry. Okay. From and the whole Usana range kind of tells my great grandfather's story, Dr. William Charles Winshaw's story. With all the names, the luck of the gambler, it all has to do with a part of his life.
Yeah, that's great.
So for us, it was nice to bring that story into it through the Usana range.
I mean, it's so important to be able to tell the story because, yes, winemaking is winemaking. I mean, it's incredibly special. There's a lot of technicalities that go into it. But at the end of the day, when you're selling wine, nobody wants to. You're not sold on technicalities. You're sold on the story and the feeling that comes with it. Yeah.
No, and we believe that we know we've got a lovely story and our great grandfather and grandfather's history in the South African wine industry from him arriving in South Africa and starting to make his first wine in 1904, and then later on in 1925 starting Stellenbosch Farmers Winery. Nice. In Stellenbosch.
There's a lot.
Yes,
that's crazy.
Of
Sitting with the celebrity over here.
So I had nothing to do.
Hey, but you're part of the family. That's impressive. I didn't know that.
So like I say, the Usana range that tells his life story from the runaway, which he ran away from home when he was 12 years old, and from there he lived a life of adventure and fending for himself. So each of the wines in that range have tell his kind of a part of his life story, where under the Winshaw wines we've actually named it a wine after him, and we've named wine after my grandfather because with my grandfather's help at a very young age he joined him at SFW, and together they then helped to build up the company. And
that's great.
Yeah, their whole vision was to get more South Africans to start drinking wine. Yeah. And to start drinking red wine because it was predominantly beer drinkers, and white wine was dominating, and semi-sweet kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure he's looking down, smiling at the production of wine that you guys are putting out here right now. So good on you.
We're doing proud. Yeah.
So JP, out of all occupations out there, what is it about winemaking that really drew you to the craft?
It's a passion. It's something that we grew up with, just knowing from where we came from.
Yeah, for sure.
So my dad also worked for SFW for a very long time. So we grew up with wine. We were able to taste with them regularly on a regular basis. And what was nice is he allowed us to taste old wines with him as well. So he often would go into the cellar, grab a bottle of old wine, and hey guys, taste this. So for us, our whole, just upbringing was about wine and about food and,
that's
and
great.
how they go together. So
For sure. JP, next thing I wanted to actually ask was, in your opinion, what is the most important when it comes to the winemaking process?
For us, our big focus is really it's in the vineyards. So Pierre, my brother, he is fully focused in the vineyards, and like I said, it's just constantly working and improving the quality, just improving the farming practices in the vineyards. As time goes by and as practices are changing the whole time, so it's making sure you're constantly staying on top of the game.
For sure.
And from there, just making sure your grapes keep improving and staying healthy.
Yeah.
So every block on the farm, it's making sure that they farm the best at the best of your ability,
for sure.
and to keep making sure that those grapes keep improving in quality.
And knowing, I guess you also need to know what is going to grow where, because it seems like it's a very unique terroir that you've got here. I mean, although we're being bolted down with the sun here, it's so cool at the same time.
Yeah, so it is. It's quite interesting. Yearly, for the last couple of years, we've been sitting together with our neighbours, Mirlist and Vergenoeg, and the guys from Etienne to Blanche from Vinpro. He comes and sits, and we look at the different weather stations in the area. So we look at the weather station on Mirlist, and then Rustenburg and Oldenburg, and it's comparing temperatures, wind factors, all those kind of things, and it's something that a lot of farms in Stellenbosch claim, but if you look at the weather stations, we are the coolest area in Stellenbosch, and it is our proximity to the sea, and then the southeast, southeast that blows across here, bringing in the cold wind. We are the windiest region, which our new winemaking neighbors found out very soon. At night time, however, when the wind dies, our temperature doesn't fall quite as much as the other temperatures. So there's a smaller difference. It does fall. The proximity to the Easter River here actually also helps to keep temperatures down. But there isn't because we're a lower daytime mean, we don't fall. The gap, the fall isn't as big as what they in the mountains might fall. Have a bigger fall because they're slightly warmer in other regions, and that's just to do with that wind settling down at night often. Okay,
nice. So I mean, it's funny because I would imagine a lot of people tend to believe that Stellenbosch is super far inland. But I mean, out of interest, like, how close are we to the ocean? No,
we're probably 6K, 7K from the ocean.
Actually.
Yeah, it's not far at all.
For sure. And so I mean, it's not just these big, powerful blockbuster wines coming from here. Stellenbosch has also produced some incredibly elegant wines.
Yeah, each region, each little area in Stellenbosch here is very different pockets and stuff. From us compared to along the Helderberg here, it's very different climate, wind and temperatures, and different soil types as well. So predominantly our vineyards is predominantly decomposed granite, ferricrete, sandy soils with a clay base, so good drainage, but you don't get as vigorous growth in the vineyards. So it helps you to control the growth much better.
Does that help with the concentration of fruit as well?
Well, what helps with the concentration of fruit is the drainage of the soil. Because it's sandy and the water drains quite well. We can control the water in the soil. We do irrigate everything. We've got drippers on all the blocks, and we can control. So we've got probes in throughout the vineyards as well. So we can keep an eye on the water levels, and we can control the amount of water that the vine has. A lot of the other very dense soils that stay wet much longer, it's harder to control because there's a lot of water that is being retained in the soil. So that definitely helps, and it does give us we do find a finer tannin on the wines. Okay, nice.
So JP, I just quickly wanted to mention the first time I came across you and I came across your wines was actually at one of these street soirees. It was a good few years ago. I'm not afraid to mention it, but I'm not the biggest fan of Chenin Blanc. But the one wine that has left a lasting impression, with me, and I still think about it today, was that day you said, no, you have to try the Chenin Blanc. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I'm setting myself up for disappointment. But when I tasted that wine, I was like, I don't know if you know that GIF, there's a guy that's doing these mathematical equations in his head. I literally felt like the guy standing there. I was like, how on earth can I like this wine? It's just so good, So still to this day, that's one of my favorite wines.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, so JP, along your journey, I mean, I'm sure you've been exposed. We've heard now that you've been in the industry for as long as you can remember. But along your journey, what has been the one wine that you would say is your best to date?
So, as I mentioned early on, we were very fortunate is that my grandfather and my dad both had cellars, and they put wine away. And the wine that always still stands out to me, and we're very fortunate to get to taste it every now and again. And quite recently at Cape Wine, we hosted a lot of the international guests on the farm for an old wine heritage tasting. Nice. So it's wines that from SFW that my grandfather was producing. And it's actually the 1957 Chateau Libertas.
Damn,
it's
no way.
It's now 65 years old. We tasted it 4 years ago at Cape Wine as well. Greg Sherwood, Master of Wine from the UK, scored it 100 points.
Wow, don't joke.
First 100 points, he gave it 100 points again. And Jamie Good scored it 98. So it's an exceptional wine.
Yes.
It really 65 years old, but just the freshness. The fruit,
can't believe it.
The color of the wine, that's always amazes me, because as wines age, you're going to get more of that like brick red coming through. Just that density and that color of that wine still. Like I just said to everyone again, this color is just mind blowing for a wine this age. So that is a wine that it definitely it stands out in my mind. Anytime someone asks me, I'm just like that 57 Chateau Libertas. It's just an exceptional wine.
So. I mean, I know we're here talking about, Winshaw wines and Pinot Gris in specific, but just out of interest, do you know what the blend was in that wine? Was it a blend? Was it straight cultivar?
Look, it's blends. Back in those days, there was a lot of, no one knows, to be honest.
It's a secret. The chateau's secret.
It's definitely a secret. There was no real bookkeeping and there weren't strong laws, like strict laws of what there is today. There was a lot of Cinzo being used. Cab was coming in, so cab started being used. And then, it's hard to say exactly what else. Guys talk about Touriga Nacional that would have been around that time. At a stage, Syrah and things got used, but definitely the Cinzo cab factor and Cinzo was quite widely used in everything.
I know that
in those days.
Coldfoot loves this kind of climate that we get in Stellies. Yeah. So JP, I'm pretty certain that you must have a secret stash of some super premium wine somewhere hidden around here. But in your own personal capacity, your own cellar, what's the most prestigious wine you might have access to?
The problem is I'm going to say the same. I'm going to give you the same answer because we do have a few bottles of that wine left, and it's going to be the same answer. It's the 57 Chateau Libertas.
I'd like to just see a picture of. I don't know if there's one that's close by, but I'd love to just see the bottle.
Sure. I will. Maybe afterwards we can quickly go. And
awesome.
I'm sure I've got an empty bottle.
Yeah, that's great.
From that tasting that we did.
Great, thanks JP. So now let's get down to the varietal for today. So Pinot Gris, can you maybe just take us through the general flavor profile of this grape varietal?
So in general what we find on the farm, obviously today we're doing the skin contact, so it's going to be, we'll talk about this flavor profile a little later on, but what we often find is more white fruit characteristics. A little bit more apple and pear,
for sure,
with a little bit of honey notes that often come through. But the nice thing about Pinot Gris as a whole, it's got lovely fruit, a nice expression, but just in the style that we make it in, a slightly softer acidity. So a lovely replacement, alternate to Sauvignon Blanc, for sure, as a lunchtime wine. Okay. And the thing that I just love about it the most, it's versatility with food. I always just say to everyone, just give me anything. It will pair with the Pinot Gris, I promise you.
You guys need to try that. Remember what JP's saying. You need to go for this. We can test as well. And
it is. It's really from just your general kind of the idea with the Pinot Gris is that lunchtime wine, and it is just when it comes to just the foods that you're having for lunch, from like salads and pastas and some white meats. Obviously, you're not going to go with the big kind of.
I was going to go with the steak. Come on.
I've done it before. Didn't have an issue. It loves a bit of spice as well, which is quite nice. Like often when I make a pasta, I'll just chop a little chili in there. Don't go Durban curry, but just a little pasta with a little bit of spice, or maybe a green curry, Thai green curry or something. It's a bit milder, and the Pinot Gris is a winner with it every time.
That's cool. I'm happy to hear that because the one thing that wines in general don't like is spice. Yeah. So I'd love to actually give it a bash because.
Yeah, no, it really is just something mild, just that like where it tingles your tongue a little bit, not like burn heavy burn,
Okay.
but just that it is there in the background, and the Pinot Gris, like I often find, it's just a winner with it.
Okay, like so JP, enough mumbo jumbo from our side. How's about we crack open this wine and taste this delicious Pinot Gris?
Great, let's go.
Okay, well, first of all, damn, that color is something special. I know you're going to mention something about that now, but seeing that the wine is finally open, JP, can you maybe just chat us through the production process that went into the making of this wine?
Sure. So this is actually 2 picks on the Pinot Gris. The first pick was whole bunch fermentation, which we had in open fermenters, and that spent about 8 days on the skin and stems before we pressed and transferred to barrel. The second portion, which is the bigger portion, makes up about 70%, was destemmed, and that portion spent about 12 days on skin before we pressed and transferred to barrel. And then it spent about this was about 10 months that it was in barrel before we then blended the 2 components together and got it ready for bottling.
Yeah, see, this one is speaking a different kind of language to me right now. So JP, orange wine. I mean, first of all, I feel that you guys are incredibly brave. I mean, I don't know if that's got something to do. I know you already said that the name is all got to do with your grandfather's, story. But I reckon producing Pinot Gris, first of all, in a market that likes to stick to what it knows, and then also producing it in an orange format. I think you guys are literally throwing the dice and hoping that that you're landing on a pair of sixes or something like that.
No, like we thought firstly with my great-grandfather's story, it's part of his story. His whole life was a bit of a gamble, plus he did enjoy gambling. But yeah, skin contact Pinot Gris, it is a bit of a gamble. So when it came to that name and that aspect of his life, this wine was definitely the one that was going to get the nod on the approval with that name.
But this is what's so amazing, to be able to have this conversation with you, interview, you get to taste this wine, and actually show the folks out there the color, and just try and expose their palates to something that's so incredibly unique. I think a lot of people tend to get intimidated when it comes to wines like this, but damn, this is something that's truly special. The expression on the nose, expression on the palate, and also, like you were mentioning, what also gives us the edge is that it's got quite a tannic structure, and that's not something that you talk about when it comes to white wine.
Yeah. So one of the reasons for making it and with that skin contact stuff was to make orange wine something different, but to make that summer red, I suppose, because you're giving it so much time on the skin, you are getting that tannin coming through in the wine. So yes, it's lovely and fresh. Nice body and structure, but from the skin contact, lip contact, time in barrel, there is a lovely kind of tannin. Gives you a little bit of grip on the wine as well. So a wine that you want to drink with that lovely kind of freshness, but very food orientated and versatile as well.
I'm not going to lie, I was a bit skeptic there when you said Pinot Gris suits everything, but I think after tasting this wine, it's actually specifically this kind of way of the production. I can totally see this wine working with so many different kinds of foods.
So earlier on I was talking more about like the flavor profiles and stuff on the kind of the white Pinot Gris, where we press the juice, get it off the skin as quickly as possible. So you've got your white Pinot Gris. Very different flavor profile coming through. Also very food friendly, but you've got a lot of kind of savory notes coming through. There's quite a bit of umami characteristics as well. So you got that like lovely freshness from like a little bit of tea and orange rind kind of coming through, that citrusy note.
For sure.
Then you've got that like savory notes that come through, and the umami. It's actually a lovely wine to have with Asian dishes, where you've got a bit of that soy sauce and wasabi and stuff. Like I love this wine with that kind of food. So.
It's so funny. So I'm torn today. I know we're getting off topic now, but I'm torn today. Am I going to braai? I think not, because of this weather. And so I was battling to figure out what we're going to have this evening, but I reckon it's going to have to be stir fry because I need to try it with this wine. And also, JP, something that's quite special, which I noticed, is the volume in alcohol in this wine is only 11.5. And I think right now, especially, it just seems it's something that the consumers out there are looking for. People are kind of, I'm not saying that they're tired of these big, heavy in alcohol wines, but they can be quite harsh on the palate. So this over here is I think some people out there are going to really take kindly to it.
Yeah. Like I said, like for us, we wanted to make that like summer red kind of thing. So we wanted that lighter, fresher, style of wine that that you can go and eat out or have at home, and you can have a couple of glasses and finish with your meal and pop open the second one. The alcohol is quite low. So that's a big goal that we strive for, just slightly earlier harvest. To get that alcohol nice and low.
I like what you said previously as well about that orange rind, because the first time I tried this wine, we were at an event up here at Somme at Caribbean, and I tried this wine for the first time. I remember like the sun was bolting down, super hot, I was sweating like a machine. But when I came to this wine, I felt like it was so refreshing, and the one component that I could really pick up, which is very pronounced, was that like orange peel kind of tone, which I think gives this wine, the edge above anything else out there right now. Okay, so JP, just one more thing. Can you just tell us a little bit more about this color? I think earlier you were telling us a story about how people tend to perceive the color of this wine.
Yeah, so for me, I love this color. It's something different, something beautiful. A lot of comments that I get on is this rose gold. I always talk about a little bit about coppery brass kind of color, and that rose gold description is quite nice. Got that gold with that tint, like tiny bit of red pink that comes through.
Sure.
So as you might see on the label, it doesn't specify what the grape is, and that's because Salvis wouldn't approve it because of the color of the wine. They kept telling me it's brown, so I'm like, that table is brown. It's not brown. It's definitely an orangey, but if you do the research on skin contact Pinot Gris, what they tell you is copper, brass. That's the color profile that you'll be getting from countries that are actually making more of it than in South Africa. I think there are 3 of us producing, where the other countries that plenty of guys are making it, and a lot of the research says copper and brass, and that's kind of what you're getting, and we got told the color is brown, and therefore it can't be approved. And I'm like, the table is brown, the tree is brown. That is not brown. It's a beautiful color. It's this orange, rose gold, whatever you want to call it, but it's just stunning. And every time I open the bottle and pour it for people are fascinated, amazed, like, wow, that color is something different. It's amazing. So we always have a good laugh at the story, but so it goes.
So JP, I reckon we need to cut a long story short over here, because first of all, this wine is drinking like the absolute boss, but for as long as I've been in the industry, winemakers have consistently said one thing, that it takes a lot of beer to produce amazing wine. And because I want you guys to continue producing wine like this at this kind of quality, I think it's time that you pay the piper and take on DasBootiful Cape Winelands Challenge. This season's beer sponsorship is from the Kennel Brewery. Today's beer is the Ale Station, an IPA. Golden color with tropical citrusy pine hop flavors and aromas, balanced with a subtle caramel malt character. Not your typical hop bomb, but beautifully bitter and crisp for those sunny days. Okay, so JP, you know the rules. I think it's about time that you pay that piper and you take on DasBootiful Cape Winelands Challenge. As you can see, this is the leaderboard over here. The quickest winemaker to date is Hog, and he smashed it in 8:03. You think you can beat him?
Definitely not.
Have some
I'm not even gonna lie.
Have some faith. So JP, the minute that beer touches your lips, it's go time. I'm gonna count you down from 3, yeah? Come on, 4 Winshaw, you can do this.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. It's looking strong, it's looking strong, it's looking strong, it's looking strong. Nice, well done, well done. You're pulling into second place. JP, well done. We're looking at 9:24. Well done, that's a strong time.
But the other guys didn't miss as much as I did.
Okay, so JP, I'll be putting you on the leaderboard shortly, but I just quickly want you to say a massive thanks. Massive thanks to you for taking on this challenge and for producing the amazing wines that you guys are. I think you're really spoiling the trade with the quality. Pleasure. Cool. Thanks a lot. And we'll chat to you again sometime soon. Everybody, JP Winshaw. So guys, that was the incredible skin contact Pinot Gris, which is being produced at Winshaw Vineyards. The wine's super exclusive. The current vintage, which we tasted today, is only about 30 cases left. So if it was a time to buy it, it would be now. You can find the wines by following the link below. If you'd like this video, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and also share it. I'd also like to remind everybody that my crowdfunding campaign is still a go. If you'd like to make a contribution towards my educational campaign, you can just scan the QR code in the corner over here. So folks, before I love and leave you, I'd like to remind you to be kind and drink good wine.
And beer.
JP, thanks a lot.